He was 63. Well-dressed, good restaurant, solid conversation topics. He was doing everything right. He had stories worth telling, a career that proved he could handle pressure, a calm he'd earned through 2 decades of hard choices. All the things the dating coaches said women in their 50s and 60s actually want. The date was fine. There was no second one. The third first date was fine too. No second one. After the 5th, he stopped trying to figure out what he was doing wrong, because he wasn't doing anything wrong. And that was the part that confused him. Something wasn't landing. Something he couldn't see from the inside. I'm Marcus, and if you're a man over 60 who's done everything the right way and still can't figure out why the connection isn't happening, what I'm about to tell you is the part nobody in the dating world explains honestly. Because it's not about what you're doing, it's about what she's reading. Before we go anywhere, I need to tell you something clearly. The man at that dinner table wasn't failing at dating. He was succeeding at the wrong game. He was playing by a set of rules. Be impressive, be engaging, demonstrate your value, that made complete sense at 35. Those rules don't apply at 62. Not because he's less, because he's more. And more requires a completely different signal. Here's the truth most dating coaches won't say, because it doesn't sell courses. After 60, the signals that matter most to female psychology are not the ones you add. They're the ones you've stopped needing. Stopped needing her approval to feel okay. Stopped needing to fill silence with achievement. Stopped needing the date to validate that you're still worth something. The word for that is settled. Not passive, not checked out. Settled, as in a man who has genuinely arrived at himself. And that specific quality is what female psychology at this age responds to more than anything else you can put on a dating profile or bring to a dinner table. Let me break down exactly what female psychology is scanning for at a level most dating advice completely misses. Women in their 50s and 60s have spent decades reading people, not consciously, automatically. Their nervous systems have been calibrated through years of relationships, what worked, what cost them, what signs they missed and paid for later. What they're reading in you has almost nothing to do with your hairline or your bank account or whether you ordered confidently. They're reading 3 things, and they happen fast. Signal number 1, the approval scan. Within the first few minutes of any interaction, female psychology is picking up on one very specific thing. Is this man checking to see if I approve of him? Not in an obvious way. Subtly. The slight adjustment after a joke to see if she laughed. The story that ends with a pause, waiting to see if she's impressed. The way his energy changes slightly when she seems less engaged. She doesn't think about this consciously. She just feels it. A man who's checking for her approval feels, to her nervous system, like uncertainty, like a question mark where there should be a period. A man who isn't checking, who is simply present, telling the story because it's worth telling, feels settled. And settled, to female psychology at this age, is not boring. It is one of the rarest and most compelling things she's encountered. Signal number 2, the silence test. Watch what a man does when the conversation pauses. The man who is performing, who is trying to keep the date going, to maintain her interest, to be engaging enough, fills that silence immediately. Another question, another story, another observation. Because silence, to him, feels like losing ground. The man who is settled, who genuinely doesn't need the date to succeed to feel okay about himself, sits in that silence comfortably. Not coldly, not disengaged, comfortably. That comfort with silence tells her something important. This man doesn't need me to manage his emotional state. He's not going to require constant reassurance. He's going to be okay regardless. That is, to a woman who has spent years managing someone else's moods and emotional needs, one of the most relieving things a man can signal, without a single word. Signal number 3, The past weight test. Every man over 60 has a past. Divorce, career highs and lows, relationships that didn't work, decisions he'd make differently. The question isn't whether those things exist. The question is how much weight he's still carrying when he talks about them. Female psychology reads this immediately. The man who talks about his divorce defensively, explaining why it wasn't his fault, or extensively listing her flaws, or rushing past it like it's a wound that's still tender, signals one thing. He hasn't fully processed it. He's still inside it. And she will inherit whatever he hasn't worked through. The man who speaks about his past with a kind of grounded ease, not dismissiveness, not fake peace, but genuine, I went through that. I learned. I came out the other side. Signals something completely different. He signals that he's done the work, that he arrived somewhere, that she wouldn't be taking on a project. She can feel the difference every time. 3 signals, 3 places where female psychology is running its scan, all 3 pointing toward the same underlying quality: settled. And here's the part that most men over 60 don't realize. Settled cannot be performed. That's what makes it rare. And that's what makes it work. If those 3 signals landed, if you recognized the approval scan, or the silence, or the way you carry the past, stay with me, because what comes next is the part most men want a shortcut, and why the shortcut doesn't work. Here's why every shortcut attempt fails. Men who understand they need to appear settled, but haven't actually arrived there yet, try to perform it. They work on their posture. They practice not checking for reactions. They tell themselves, don't overshare before the date. And women feel the performance every time. Because here's the truth about female psychology after decades of reading people. It doesn't process the surface. It processes the signal layer. The signal layer is your nervous system, the quality of your attention, whether there's urgency underneath your calm, or whether the calm is the whole thing. She's not reading your resume. She's reading your nervous system, and your nervous system knows the difference between settled and performed. So how does a man actually get to settled? The honest answer, it's not a technique. It's a completion. Settled comes from 3 things that can only happen over real time, with real honesty. 1, he's resolved his past. Not forgotten it, resolved it. The divorce, the regrets, the things he'd do differently. He's looked at them long enough that they don't bite anymore. He can talk about them the way you talk about weather from last season. Real, known, done. 2, he's built a life that works without a partner. Not a lonely life, a full one. Work that matters, people who matter, a daily rhythm that he genuinely doesn't want to disrupt unnecessarily. When a man has that, the energy of, I need this to work, disappears entirely. And what remains is something that reads, to her nervous system, as extraordinary. A man who is already enough. 3, he knows what he actually wants. Not someone nice, not compatible, something specific, honest, his. A man with this kind of internal clarity doesn't scan for her approval. He's too busy running his own filter. And nothing signals settled more clearly than a man who is genuinely assessing her rather than endlessly auditioning for her. Let me give you the reframe before we get to the practical part. The entire dating world tells men to work on what they show. Better photos, stronger openers, more confident posture, cleaner profile. All of that is surface work. And surface work on top of an unsettled interior is like painting a house that needs new foundations. It looks better for a while. It doesn't hold. The shift I'm describing is not about performance. It's about completion. The permission I want to leave you with is this. You don't have to become more attractive. You have to become more complete. Those are different journeys. And the second one, the one that actually leads to the connection you're looking for, doesn't require you to add anything. It requires you to finish the things inside yourself that are still running. The unresolved conversations, the grief you skipped past, the version of yourself you've been meaning to actually sit with. When that work is done, not perfectly, but genuinely, you walk into a room differently. Not louder, just more present, more still. And still, at 62 or 65 or 68, is the most powerful thing you can bring to any room that has a woman in it who's paying attention. 3 moves. Not techniques for the date, moves for your interior. Move 1. Stop explaining your past. Start describing it. There's a difference between explaining your divorce, which means you're still defending something, and describing it, which means you've looked at it clearly enough to narrate it without needing her to understand your side. Action. The next time someone asks about your marriage or past relationship, notice which one you're doing. If you find yourself building a case, that's a signal you have more resolving to do, not for her sake, for yours. Move 2. Build one thing into your life you'd hate to give up. A settled man has a life. Specifically, something in it he's genuinely protective of, not because he's guarded, but because it matters. A morning routine, a project, a community. Something that makes the question, what do I do with myself, one he doesn't have to ask. Action. Name it. If you can't name it today, that's the work, not the dating profile. This. Move 3. Let the next date be an assessment, not an audition. You are not there to prove you're worth her time. You're there to find out if she's worth yours. That shift, from audition to assessment, changes everything about how you show up. Your questions become genuine. Your silences become comfortable. Your presence stops being about her response and starts being about your own honest interest. She will feel that shift before you say a single word, and it will read to her nervous system as exactly what it is. A man who already knows his own value and is simply looking for someone worth sharing it with. I want to leave you with one thought before you go. The man who walked into that first dinner, the one who did everything right and still couldn't make the connection happen, he wasn't wrong to try. He was taught to try. He was taught that effort equals value, and that if you just optimize the effort enough, the result will follow. Female psychology at 60 plus isn't responding to optimized effort. It's responding to the absence of it, to the quality of a man who has arrived somewhere real and doesn't need the dinner to confirm it. The most attractive thing a man over 60 can do is stop trying to be attractive. Not because attraction doesn't matter, because real attraction at this age lives on the other side of the trying. That shift from performance to presence is not something you buy or learn in a weekend. It's something you earn by doing the honest work on the inside that most men avoid because it's uncomfortable. But the men who do it, every one of them reports the same thing. The day they stopped performing for her approval was the day she actually saw them. Not a coincidence. That's female psychology telling you something true. When was the last time you caught yourself performing? Not lying, just trying harder than you actually needed to. Tell me what it looked like. Comments are open. Your answer is going to be someone else's turning point today. If this gave you something real, consider subscribing. Not for the number, because this community is built for men who are willing to do the honest work, and you've just proven that you're willing to ask the honest question. This is Sovereign Male Dynamics, where the performing ends and the real presence begins. See you in the next blueprint.